we also need to hook up our email and our password and our confirmation to hook this up to actually change the state when we type something in here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our text field, the first one here, which is the email one, and we're going to give this an onChanged. And if you guys haven't seen this before, we can give a text field an onChanged function to do something, anything that we want it to do whenever the user types in over here. I'm sorry about the noise outside. I hope my microphone doesn't pick it up. So what we're going to do here, the onChanged is going to take a string value, and then it's going to do something in response. And this gives me an error because it's an invalid constant value. So now that I'm having this function, I need to delete const there, and instead it's going to want me to add const here. This is inside here, so that's fine. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to do the same as what I did down here somewhere, which is say context.BLoC, the name of the block, dot add, and this is not going to be a const. It's going to be off event dot email changed, and I'm going to pass in this value from here. So what this is doing is that whenever the user types something in here, that's firing this onChanged function inside my text field. The onChanged gets the value here, which is whatever was typed in, the entire string. So it's the entire string, not just the last letter. And then I'm taking this value and putting it into my off event email changed, which is then going to send it here. And then I'm going to emit a new state with the new email string inside the state. So as a result, when the user changes the text here, my BLoC has that text, so I could access it from anywhere, and that's great. And then we're going to do the same thing with the password and with the confirmation. So this next one is password, exactly the same thing, onChanged, val, and this time I'll make an arrow function just to show you that I can. I like to show a bit of variety when I can. And this is going to be off event dot password changed, and the same thing. This is going to take the val, and it's giving me an error because this is const, which it shouldn't be. I mean, I say it shouldn't be. It was supposed to be const when I made it, but I had to change it now. So now it's no longer const. And the same thing here. Context.BLoC, off BLoC dot add, off event dot confirmation changed, and this is going to be value here. And of course the value here is going to be the same one from here. And I put the wrong punctuation there. Const. And there we go. That's nice. Then this register button needs to be changed. Currently the on press does nothing. So what I'm going to do instead is say if. I could also make a ternary the same way I did here. I could do something like this, but you know, I like to show different ways of doing things. So instead I'm going to say if state.showConfirmation, then we're going to say context.BLoC off BLoC.add, and this one is going to be const off event dot. So if we're showing confirmation, then I want to say registration pressed, else context.BLoC off BLoC.add const of event dot sign in or login pressed. Here it is, like this. Okay. So I'm going to quickly go back to my off BLoC and just write some print statements here so we can see exactly the way it moves. So in my email change, I'm going to say email changed, and then I'm going to have the value we just received, which over here is going to be e.email. Keep in mind e comes from here. E refers to the event, and then inside the event I gave it a string email for my email changed. So this is where this email is coming from. E represents this event, or to be exact, it's actually this one, and then email is here. So there's that. And the same thing here. I'm going to say print password changed e dot, and I think I called the password. I did. And then print confirmation changed. It's going to bother me if it's not the same. E dot confirmation. I'm not going to write anything here because we can actually see it's changing, so that's fine. And then with login pressed and registration, for now I'm just going to print out what's happening. So login pressed with email, and here we're going to have to use state.email, right? Because here, and this should be email address. Or whatever I called it. I thought it was email address. Maybe I misspelled email address. Password. It's going to be state.password. Okay. So again, here we have to access state dot and then the property name rather than e dot property name, because my login pressed, if we look here, doesn't take any parameters. Same with my registration press. This doesn't take anything. It doesn't need anything because it can get that information from my state. So there's no need to copy it over. There's no need to repeat myself in code. And we'll do the same thing here. So I'm just going to copy this and change this to register. Password, confirmation, state of confirmation. Like that. No. Okay, it's being a tiny bit slower than I'd like it. Give me a second. Okay, so now let's see what happens. Now, and I think I updated this as well, didn't I? Yeah. So now when I type in my email address, I should see the print out over here to confirm that it is changing the way it should be. So Ovidius Mazuru, and we can see it's coming over here just like we'd expect at gmail.com. Yep. So I'm receiving the email as expected. Then my password might be password, very secure. And if I type sign in, we can see it login pressed with email, and then it gives me my email and my password. So it is doing what I expect it to do. I can switch to confirmation. You can see these values stay the same. There's no reason why they should change. Then we can add something else here and say register, and say register pressed with email, password, and confirmation, exactly how I would expect it to do. Now, this is where we'd start to add different checks inside my login pressed or my registration pressed. Well, it's up to you really. You could either add the checks here or inside the thing, the off facade, which I definitely forgot where I had it. Off repository in this case. Or we could add some kind of checks inside my off repository. One thing I would do in this case for register is I would say if states final bool passwords match equals state dot confirmation equals state.password. So this is a very simple way of just saying, you know, if the password is the same as confirmation, then they match, so we can do something. If they don't match, then do something else. So let's say if password match, and this should really have an S. Don't know why this is giving me an error, because I misspelled it, that's why. If password match, print success, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Else, what I can do is yield state.copyWith, and then remember I had that error message, error text, something like this, can't remember exactly. Here, error message, and say password and confirmation must match. And if you haven't seen the /n before, that's just the character to create a new line. So this is going to come over 2 different lines. And let's try. I don't need anything. Say something else here. When I click register, I'm not displaying the text anywhere. So now I'm going to go back into my sign-in page and actually do something with the error text. So what I'm going to do is between sign in here and my email field, which is here, const sized box height 10, then I'm going to have a const. It's not a const actually. I'm going to have a text where the text is going to be state.errorMessage, and the style is going to have a text style. The color is going to be colors.red, and I want a darker red. I don't want it to be too bright. I don't really like bright colors. Let's try shade 600, shade 700. If it was my own project, I would have pulled out all the colors earlier, and I'd have chosen something myself which I like, rather than relying on Flutter's base colors. But yeah, that's fine. Okay, there we go. It didn't want to format. So what we're going to see now is, by default, there's no error message, so we can't see anything. But once we have these password and confirmation which don't match up, you're going to see this is going to show up. Password and confirmation must match, exactly what we would expect. One thing I would do here, however, is also give this a alignment, font align. Definitely doesn't go here. Okay, it doesn't go in the style, it goes here. Text align, that was it. I always get a bit confused with these, of text align censor. So now it's going to look a little bit better. Yeah, it does look a little bit better. It's still not great. It's good enough. Okay, and now one thing you might notice, this is up to you. Do you guys think that when I change between these, the error message should go away? Or do you guys think it should stay here? So this is really your choice. I could then go into my off block and say that if toggle show confirm is pressed, then I could reset my error message. And what I'm going to do really is have it over 2 lines. And I know that looks quite strange, but the reason I'm doing it is because I don't want this to jump when I actually get the error message. Right, so that should have the correct amount of space so the boxes don't jump. So when I hit register now, yeah, you can see there was no jump. And now when I hit sign in, that's going to go away. Register, that goes away. Right. Now in this case, there was no second error message, but if there had been a second error message, going to sign in or register, either one is going to make that error message go away. And depending on what you guys think, you could do the same thing where you clear out the error message on a lot of actions. I could do some kind of check for the email address, for example. If I go back into my off BLoC, I could say something like, if e.email address dot contains at, then do something. I actually want a not here. Do I not have a contains on a string? That doesn't matter. All right, never mind. Yeah, so we could do some kind of check to say that if there's a substring which has an at, then we can consider it to be a valid email and then carry on, do something. If not, show a different error message or something like that. You know, we have a lot of different options. Okay. So now the next thing to do is we actually want to do something, right? Or at least pretend to do something. So as a result, my BLoC needs access to the auth repository in the same way that my previous BLoC needed. So what I'm going to do is give this a final auth repository underscore auth repository I cannot spell. There we go. And we're going to import this. And then it's going to take this dot auth repository. That's going to be because it's unused, that's fine. And now that I've done that, I'm going to have to go into main and give this auth repository. And if I remember correctly, I made it a singleton. So this auth repository is going to be the same as this auth repository. If I didn't, then this isn't going to work right. So going back to our auth repo, let's look at what we do. So when we sign in with email and password, we return true if it looks how we expect it to, and we return false otherwise. And with register, currently all we're doing is returning true. And this is just an example of something you might do. So if I go back into my auth BLoC, we're going to go into our login pressed. And instead of doing this, we're going to say final results equals auth repository dot login or sign in with email and password. And this takes a string email and a string password. So that's going to be state.email address, state.password, like that. Okay. And then I can say if results else. So in this case, results is going to be a bool, and I'll mark it just so it's more clear. So that comes from here. So if I think the validation goes through, I'm returning true. If it's not going through, I'm returning false, right? But this was just one way of doing it. You could do it any other way you'd like. So if result comes in, that means that we have been validated as worked. So that's fine. Then I don't actually need to do anything here because this auth repository is going to be the same as the one which is being accessed by auth-check. That's the wrong one. By the auth-check, wherever that is. This one. There we go. This off repository is the same one which is being accessed by my off check block here. And what's going to happen is if these are valid, then off repository to authenticated is going to be switched to true. And then my off check block should listen to that. And this should happen. Off events, off requested. Okay, so I forgot that I need to do an off events, off requested, but we'll do that afterwards. And then, yeah. That does that. So here we're going to have to do the off event, the off requested, but that comes from the other block. So I'm going to have to add a new property here. But for now, let's go to the else and do this first. So I'll say if the result is not correct, I'm going to yield state.copyWith and say error message, invalid email, and I'll do the /n password combination like that. Okay. And then with registration pressed, as long as these two match, it's fine, right? Okay. So let's see what happens. Nothing's going to happen yet because I need to go back into my sign-in page and actually do this off requested. But let's just see how it works for now. So for now, let's print success, for example. And let's see which fields I used here. Sign in, and nothing's happening. And why is nothing happening? Well, let's check. It's probably this. No success. I probably made a spelling mistake somewhere. Yeah, so this time it works, it's a success. Now let's actually make it do something, right? So this is all doing what we expect it to. And I'm going to close this. And we can go back to our off-check block. So, give me a second, I want to close everything. We had off events, off requested. Right, so what I'm going to have to do is add a new property to my state here. So, string off states changed. Bool, it can be anything, int. Fine. I just need something to trigger. I need something to change. It doesn't matter what. I just need to listen for something to change, and then once I receive that change, I can trigger the events from the other block. So I could have a bool here, I could have an int, I could have absolutely anything. It really doesn't matter. I just need something. So here I'll say offstate changed 0. So this is just the starting value. And I'm going to have to run my build runner again. But we'll do that afterwards. Then we're going to say inside the off block here, yield states dot copy with. And all we're doing is saying whatever we just created, off state changed, state off state changed plus plus. And this isn't going to do anything yet because it's I haven't run the build runner yet, and the same thing here. Okay. So now I'm going to go to a new terminal and say Flutter pub run build runner build. What that's going to do is apply the changes I made over here. Okay, so my computer's a bit slow. I'm going to edit out the wait. I'm going to very quickly reload the window. I meant to reload this, not that. But that's fine. So that's just to get rid of that, that error. I'm going to open this up in Chrome again. It's fine. Okay. Just give me an error here. Maybe it doesn't like me doing this. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, and then I'm going to listen to it on the sign-in page. And this is just one way of doing it. You could have done it a different way. Another thing you could have done would be you could have not passed in the auth repository to put this here. You could have also just not passed in the auth repository to this block. What we could do instead is just listen to this changing, and then once this changes, we could trigger the other block to do what it needs to do. Right. It'll make more sense after I show you guys. Okay. So we have this block builder here. Now I need to access that other block here. So I'm going to wrap this in a widget. I'm going to change this to a block consumer. And give this a listener. Context state. If the other thing I want to do is say rather than doing this, I can do this, that's fine. So I'm saying if state dot changed over 0, so it could have been a ball as well. Then I'm going to say context dot block, and I want to access the other block dot add const of check events dot. I was really hoping it was gonna show up, so I don't need to type it out because I can't remember exactly what I called it. Of check requested, like this. Oh, I didn't use freezed for this one. That's why. Okay. So all I'm doing here is saying if the off state changed from my off block is over 0, and it's going to be over 0 whenever I get the success, right? Then it's going to increment over there. In that case, I'm going to say context.block off check block, that's the other block, not this one, and add the off events of requested, which is going to trigger this one, which is going to trigger this, and it's gonna get my is user authenticated, from my repository and then yield either off-state authenticated or unauthenticated, which is going to change this. Okay, let's see if it works. I won't be surprised if it doesn't, not gonna lie. Okay, so I've already shown you guys the errors, so I'm just gonna do it directly. Password. We got it, it works. Okay, gentlemen, so that was it. I'm going to end this video here, but I'm going to record in the next video, we're going to do a summary of not only the BLoC pattern, but also of states in general. We're going to talk about the different state management solutions we've spoken about, advantages, disadvantages of each, when you want to use them, so on. And that's going to be the final video of this module. And then after that, I'm going to release a huge video containing all of module 4. That's going to be like 9-10 hours long. So you guys who have been watching the entire time won't need to watch that. It's going to be the same thing, nothing new, but some new people might like it. So yeah, that's going to be it. All right, but for now, myself, Vidius, I'm out. Take care, guys.